Let's have a look at the grid. 7 drivers set to go as we're just about 4 minutes away from getting the call to fire up these Mazda power plants. Starting in the 7th position from Brazil for Juncos Racing, it's the number 23, last year's Pro Mazda champion, Victor Franzoni. Franzoni starting in the 7th spot. To the 3rd row now on the outside from Stouffville, Ontario, Canada, in the K-Line Insulators Andretti Autosport, number 28, Dalton Kellett, starting in the 6th position. You need to be watching the driver here, who's starting in the 5th spot, number 5, actually on the car as well, the BSE-sponsored Belardi Auto Racing entry. This driver with 6 straight podiums here at Mid-Ohio from Uruguay, Santi Urrutia, will be starting in the 5th position. 3 wins over the last 4 Indy Lights races here at Mid-Ohio. Watch for this guy to work his way to the front of the grid. Moving up to row number 2 on the outside from Wisconsin in the Rice Lake Weighing Systems, number 9 for Belardi Auto Racing, a driver who is a former Pro Mazda champion. Tony Laporte already talked to him, but it's Aaron Tielitz. He in the number 9, starting on the outside of row number 2. Inside of row number 2, the driver with a number of race wins already this year. 2nd year in the Indy Lights Series in the number 98 Deltro Energy Machine for Andretti Steinbrenner Racing. 2nd generation driver Colton Herta starting on the inside of row number 2, P3. Moving our way to the front of the grid, starting on the outside of the front row. What a great qualifying run for this driver here. He is from nearby Aurora, Ohio. It's his home race. He won the SCCA runoffs here in Formula Atlantic. He'll start the Journey-sponsored Andretti Autosport number 48 from the outside of row 1. The home state boy in the 48, flying Ryan Norman, starting P2. Moving now to the driver on the pole position, your point leader coming into the weekend here, coming off a win at Toronto. He won as well at Iowa Speedway, looking to get his first victory in Indy Lights here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for Andretti Autosport. Again, your point leader out of Mexico, number 27, Patricio O'Ward. Just a couple minutes away to fire things up and get these drivers ready to go. Again, O'Ward on the pole alongside the home state Ohio Buckeye of Ryan Norman. Row 2, Colton Herta. And the number 9 of Aaron Tielitz. Row 3, Santi Urrutia alongside Dalton Kellett on row number 4. It's Victor Franzoni in the Soul Red Mazda number 23. So once again, folks, very close to getting ready to fire things up. I got a couple of my guests from Cooper Tires down here with me on pit lane, right in front of number 27, Apato O'Ward. They'll give the call to fire these engines. Less than a minute to go. So again, enjoying such a beautiful day here now. We do have some clouds coming in. If they start to cover that sun, it's going to change this racetrack, and that's one of the unique things about the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. It's track just so sensitive to the temperature change, the sun, the wind. Will the engineers have hit the marks in terms of getting these cars ready to go? Once again, ladies and gentlemen, 7 drivers here, the very top rung of the Mazda road to Indy. All of these drivers trying to work their way to the Verizon IndyCar Series. Very impressive drivers, all with the ability to make their move to the big show in 2019 or beyond. So, ladies and gentlemen, joining me down here on pit lane to give us the call to start the engines here for Indy Lights, the first of 2 races here this weekend in Mid-Ohio, one of our guests from Cooper Tires, Logan Sanders, to give me the command.
On behalf of everyone at Cooper Tires, drivers, start your Mazda engines.
Pretty solid job there down on pit lane. I can tell you this, it's about a 1-second delay when you're on the microphone. You can hear the PA. Logan doing a pretty good job having to hear himself the whole time. Not the easiest thing to do, to have to play with the PA and the little delay down here, but Logan did a great job. He did it. He fired them up. 7 drivers. All these Mazda power plants coming to life. 450 horsepower behind each and every one of these drivers. Ladies and gentlemen, the first of 2 Indy Lights races here in Mid-Ohio. Next up.
Thanks, Rob Howden, as the cars will head out on their parade laps. This race is 30 laps or 45 minutes, whichever occurs first, in this small but mighty field of 7 drivers about to take it out on their pace lap. Pato O'Ward pulls away from the pole position. Ryan Norman starts right alongside the Ohio native from up in Aurora, Ohio, with the Journey sponsorship on the side of his car. Colton Herta in third spot, looking to get his championship challenge back on track as he fell behind Pato O'Ward after that disaster that was Toronto. He finished 6th and 7th in the 2 races at Toronto after that thumb injury, but he's much stronger this weekend, feeling better, and they've got a good brace on it. It's a non-displaced fracture of his thumb. It's one of the reasons that the drivers learn to release their hands from the steering wheel when a collision is imminent, because that steering wheel can jerk so violently, and a broken thumb is not uncommon. Rusty Bell, have you ever had that injury?
I have not, but I'm not sure I'm going fast enough in my car to cause that. I've been on my roof a few times and in the gravel plenty, but have not had that injury. Don't wish that on anyone. And the car's coming down, trying to warm up the tires right now behind the pace car. As you can hear them down in front of me here. Again, I'm 2/3 of the way down the straightaway. We'll get the start for some of the races. This one will be a start there in front of you, John.
Brian Culbertson, you've got the view of the pace car right in front of you now.
Looking forward to another great Indy Lights race this year. I mean, I've loved watching the season coverage so far. They've put on some stellar races, and it's been totally enjoyable. I tell you what, I'm waiting for Colton Herta. He just seems to be right on the edge of being able to figure out the handling on the car, and hopefully later on this morning they've sat down and come up with something, because it would be fun to watch Herta run up right up at the front with everybody. And he was close this morning in qualifying, and I think he's going to be even faster this afternoon.
Tom Michaels, the field getting past you there. Any insights from you for this upcoming first of 2 Indy Lights races this weekend?
Well, it is a small field, but almost half of it is being talked about heavily about being in Indy cars next year. Colton Herta, a lot of interest there. Sandy Arrutia as well, and Pato O'Ward as well. All 3 of those could be in the big series coming up 1 year hence.
Yeah, Pato O'Ward, 5 wins on the season already. Colton Herta, 4 wins on the season. Santi Arrutia, a 2-time winner who's had great success here. Santi has podiumed in each of his 6 races at Mid-Ohio in all of the rungs of the Mazda Road to Indy ladder. He took a win in a 3rd place in 2015 on his way to the Pro Mazda Championship, and then swept both Indy Lights races in 2016, scored a win in a 2nd in 2017. So Santi Arrutia certainly knows the quick way around, and he was at the top of the qualifying order for much of this final qualifying session. Didn't end up on the pole, but Santi Arrutia will start this race back in 5th position inside of row number 6. But again, with the field this size, starting position not nearly as important as how raceable the car is, just how well you can get yourself to the front and maintain contact with the leaders. As these cars weaving back and forth, Rusty, still working to get temperature into these tires.
Yeah, and they're warming up the engines and brakes too. We can see some of the drivers dragging the brakes as they come down the straightaway, because they're going to come down here at speed, and they need to make sure that that brake pedal is warmed up and the rotors are nice and hot, so they get good grip to slow the cars down here at the top end of the straightaway on the first lap.
Brian, I believe the lights are out on the pace car.
They are, and I would imagine Tom Michaels will get to see them form up. We have had some awesome starts today. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but we've had some great, just really phenomenal road racing starts. It's fun to watch.
Cars moving by me now here in turn number 9, still in the single file order as they move down behind the Honda Accord pace car, and we get ready for the start.
I'd like to acknowledge our honorary starter, a guest of Cooper Tires, Mike McGee, will be waving the green flag to get this race underway, as the field now forming up in rows of 2. 3 rows with a single car in row 4 of Victor Franzoni, the Mazda Scholarship Award winner from a year ago. Pretty fast pace coming onto the front straightaway. The starter looks them over. They're pretty well formed up, and there's the green, and Pato O'Ward gets the jump, but Colton Herta is going to try to come with him. He's side by side with Ryan Norman into turn 1.
Yeah, Ryan Norman's got the spot right now and is able to hang on. Colton Herta putting a challenge there at the entry to turn 1, but good speed there from Ryan Norman, and he's able to hang on to that. The front 3 have begun to stretch it out. They're single file, but that back 4 certainly not settled out right now as they make their way down the straightaway. Single file, Pato O'Ward at the front, Ryan Norman, then a little bit of a gap back to Herta. Then behind, it looks like the Thielitz machine, but they're too wide there, Brian.
Yeah, that battle for 4th spot was side by side as they initially turned into turn number 4. Pato O'Ward trying to get away from the field a little bit. He's got about a 3-car cushion as he makes his way underneath the Honda bridge, but the good battle's back there for 4th, Tom.
Yeah, Award is taken off once again. And the battle for fourth, that's kind of broken off. But right now, for fifth and sixth, watching as they go by, Arrutia, Dalton Kellett, they're going at it hammer and tong, getting ready to complete race lap number 1.
Yeah, the Belardi teammates Santi Arrutia and Aaron Thielitz going after one another to settle that 4th and 5th position, but Pato Award will lead lap number 1. Ryan Norman in that 2nd spot. Colton Herta, then Aaron Thielitz and his teammate Santi Arrutia, Dalton Kellett and Victor Franzoni. Everybody staying in touch here. Nobody's getting away right at the moment, although, Rusty, it looks like Pato Award has been able to eke out about a 1-second advantage.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a gap there, about 4, maybe 5 car lengths as they come onto the straightaway. And then there's another similar gap between 3rd and 4th place as they come down. Those two teammates battling on that first lap, and that allowed Colton Herta to get a little bit of a gap in that 3rd spot, but nobody challenging this lap, single file.
Coming down into turn number 4 and into number 5, we're watching Ryan Norman actually starting to put a little pressure on Award. Tom Michaels, he had gotten out to about, almost the 2nd advantage, and about a half of that's gone.
Yeah, I'd say so. Coming through is Pato Award, kicks up some dust as he hits the inside of the curbing, coming through turn number 9. Still with a sizable advantage, but it is shrunk, as you would say.
We've got the 3 Andretti teammates at the front as Pato Award, Ryan Norman, and Colton Herta all running for Andretti Autosport as they work their way onto the front straightaway to complete race lap number 2. Award's lead stays right at about a second as the battle between the two Belardi teammates has settled down into a single file affair between Aaron Thielitz and Santi Arrutia, as it's about another second back to Colton Herta. So the top 4 are about equally spaced. The closest battle is the 1-4-4th between those two red cars from Belardi Auto Racing.
That time Colton Herta bangs the pit exit curbing coming around the apex at turn 1, and it unsettled the car a bit as he had to lift off the throttle, and you can see the gap, Brian. That's all it took, was just a little touch of that curbing and the car being unsettled through turn 1, and you can see the gap that happened.
Yeah, definitely. He's backed up just a little bit. Not quite in the grasp of Aaron Thielitz yet, but Aaron Thielitz can definitely see the difference.
And it battle in the front, closing down once again. Colton Herta kind of sitting there in the catbird seat all by his lonesome. And those two red cars, Aaron Thielitz, Santi Arrutia, they run 4th and 5th.
Field beginning to spread out just a little bit as Aaron Thielitz able to draw away from his teammate ever so slightly as Pato Award comes across the line. If anything, it looks like Ryan Norman trying to close down, but the interval stays just over a second, 1.2 between Award and Norman. Herta's another 1.1 second back. Thielitz another 1.3 seconds back. And Santi Arrutia within a half a second of his teammate, and Dalton Kellett right there as well. Kellett, after that little bobble by Arrutia, might have something to say about the 5th position.
Down the straightaway that time, Herta gets cleanly through turn 1, and you can see the difference on the track as he is able to pull a little gap there on Thielitz in 4th, but still not close enough to make any challenge to Ryan Norman running in 2nd.
Yeah, and Ryan Norman seems to take a little bit more out. Norman's car looks really good at the top end of the straightaway. Maybe they've got that car flattened out a little bit in the wing, and he's got some more top end.
No change as they come through turn number 9. One more time. Matter of fact, it looks like maybe Dalton Kellett's going to try and make a little bit of a charge on Arrutia, but at this point, still a good 3-4 car lengths back.
Not much change as they come through the carousel turn. The field still beginning to spread out just a bit. The interval between Award and Norman has stabilized at just over a second, about 1.3 now, but Colton Herta, Rusty called it, got a little better run through turn 1, and he's closed down to within a second of Ryan Norman as they come across the stripe this time. Dalton Kellett also only about half a second behind Santi Arrutia.
Yeah, you can see Kellett closing that gap up just a little bit, and Colton Herta, as we've talked about. That gap is a little closer now. Down the straightaway as Norman still remains in that 2nd spot, with Herta trying to close in. If he can do that cleanly for another 3 or 4 laps, that may be a good battle for 2nd.
It's closing up quite rapidly now. I would say the top 3 spots have closed up on this last lap. Herta's definitely a car running much better now. His tires come up to temperature. Tom, there in front of you.
Yeah, he's starting to pull in the 48 car, Ryan Norman. We should see a challenge for that second place position coming up here in just another lap or so. Meanwhile, on the tail of the field, Victor Franzoni gets the tail end kind of out of shape as he came through turn number 9, able to gather it in and continue on.
Colton Herta set fast lap of the race last time by. Let's see if he can back it up. Not quite as quick. A 112 of 364, 112.343 for Colton Herta as he resets fast lap. So Colton Herta, the fastest car on track, closing down on Ryan Norman. It's down under 0.6 of a second.
Getting a note that Franzoni may be off and on, and that's why he's so far behind the rest of the cars right now as they make their way through the keyhole turn. Big gap now from Colton Herta back to the number 9 car. I'm not sure. May have been something going on there too, but now Urrutia trying on the inside, Brian.
Oh, he locks it up big time. He does get the position, and he's able to hold on to it. So Urrutia dives to the inside, locks the brakes up, but does make the pass stick. Coming at you, Tom Michaels, we have a new 4th place runner.
Yep, no challenge in the first 3. We have a new 4th place car in the number 5. Sandy Urrutia having moved up, but I don't think Aaron Thielitz is going to give up that easy.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on Colton Herta, who the last 2 laps has set fast lap of the race. As we come through to complete the next lap, Ryan Norman trying to stay in touch with our leader. Herta closes it down to 0.5 of a second. This lap wasn't his fastest, but Colton Herta is still staying right in contact. The top 3 only separated by 1.5 seconds. Pato O'Ward had a lead of almost 1.4 seconds a couple laps ago. That has shrunk and is now down to under a second. We got a battle for the front.
Yeah, I was just checking the rule book a little bit here for Indy Lights. These drivers have 20 push-to-passes that they can use. It's a 10-second burst of power, but they have to be within a second of the driver in front in order to use it. Their dash will flash at them to allow the use of that, and we can see that a couple of these drivers, Urrutia has used, well, I'm sorry, Dalton Kellett has used the most. He's only got 8 pushes left right now, and it looks like a second on that Urrutia as he made that pass on a push-to-pass.
Leaders coming into my view, and the top 3 are about equally spaced, and that is not the case not too long ago, as it looks like Ryan Norman has turned up the pace. He sets his personal best a lap ago. Let's see if he can improve upon it this time by, as Pato O'Ward beginning to feel the pressure, sets his fastest lap, and Ryan Norman is now the fastest car on the track, a 112.262. He's closed down to about within 0.8 of a second. Same interval back to Colton Herta, and then it's about 4 seconds back to the new 4th place runner, Santi Urrutia.
Down the straightaway, that front group of 3 a little bit tighter than they've been as they come down the straightaway. Pato O'Ward still driving a really good line, staying out in front. Ryan Norman got a consistent gap, but looks like he's not closing in this lap.
Yeah, O'Ward able to answer the challenge there. Keep Ryan Norman behind him. Again, Colton Herta really picks his pace up as he makes his way through turn number 6 and heads towards you, Tom Michaels. Then we could have a really good battle here for the top 3.
Yeah. Looked like he picked up just a little bit. There's more distance between 1st and 2nd than there is to 2nd and 3rd, but still no change. O'Ward, Norman, Herta.
Across the line they come. If anything, Herta's a little closer to Ryan Norman this time by, as I think Norman may have lost just a little bit of pace. Herta's closed down to about 0.7 of a second as Pato O'Ward sets the fast lap of the race, as the top 3 have sort of traded that fast lap between them. As Pato O'Ward, again, feeling the pressure. All he's got to do is stay out in front. As the live points show us, he would open up a 28-point advantage as they run right now. So if Colton Herta wants to stay in touch with Pato O'Ward for the championship, he has got to find some pace to get around Ryan Norman and shrink that points loss, and if at all possible, get to the front and put Pato O'Ward behind him.
Herta's got it down to about 2.5 car lengths now, headed for you, Tom Michaels, but Herta turning the wick up now.
Absolutely. We take a look. He's probably 2.5, 3 car lengths now off the rear wing of that second place car of Ryan Norman as they head up through 10.
Ryan Norman would stay in 5th position in the points as they run right now, but if Colton Herta can move around, he'll shrink that deficit to Pato O'Ward, who took over the points lead, a 24-point swing up in Toronto after Colton Herta had his accident in practice that fractured his thumb, and he was able to soldier around for a 6th place finish in one race, but had to settle for 7th and last in the second. That cost him that championship lead. So he needs to get back around, get around Ryan Norman and put some pressure on Pato O'Ward in the second half of this race. We're working race lap 11 of the scheduled 30, so lots of time left. It's about a 5-second gap back to Santi Urrutia in 4th.
Thielitz looking for a way back around Urrutia.
Yeah, Thielitz gets it down to about a car length as they make their way down the end of the back straightaway. No changes in the top 3.
Well, there is a change in that I think that Colton Herta has lost a little ground there to 2nd place Ryan Norman. Then the battle between teammates, the 5 and the 9. Santi Urrutia still has the advantage over Aaron Thielitz as they go under the Total Quartz Bridge.
Here come the Belardi teammates into the carousel turn for the first time. Not for the first time, but in this order as they come across the line to complete the 11th racing lap. This time, Urrutia stretches the advantage just a bit, still about 0.7 of a second, so not a whole lot of difference as we get a good look at Ryan Norman going through the keyhole turn. If anything, he's gotten, it's just really interesting to me how these top 3, how the interval between them has kind of ebbed and flowed as the race wears on. It goes over a second, now it's back under a second. They're pretty much evenly spaced right now, Rusty. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think I know some of that has to do with that push to pass that we talked about as we can see the number left. And of course, the only driver that hadn't used any is Pato O'Ward because he can. He's in front, and you need to be within a second of the car ahead of you to use that. So anytime when the driver gets, if they're able to challenge him for the lead, he is still going to have all of his 20 push to passes available to him.
Ryan Norman has 14 left. Colton Herta only 12. Santi Urrutia 13. Aaron Thielitz 10. Dalton Kellett's the one who's been burning him up in 6th place, trying to stay in touch with those Belardi cars in front of him. He only has 6 pushes to pass left. Victor Franzoni is banking his. He's got 18 left in the bank, but you're right. Pato O'Ward hasn't had to use them as nobody's gotten close enough to him. This time, Colton Herta claws a little more pace, and he's getting a little closer to Ryan Norman.
Watching him down the straightaway, trying to get into the draft, probably back just a little too far to make that happen as they come by my spot here on the back straightaway, but definitely closes it in under braking.
Yeah, it does close up just a little bit. Colton Herta gets it down again. He can get it down to 2.5 car lengths, and that's as close as he's been able to get.
Yeah, that's a real ebb and flow there in that battle for 2nd and 3rd. Pato O'Ward seems to be pretty much unconcerned with what's happening behind him. Right now he is led from the get-go. And there's no challenge back there between Urrutia and Thielitz now in that battle for 4th.
Coming up to complete race lap number 13 at 15, we'll be halfway home. As O'Ward, Norman, and Herta come by. Herta's burned a couple more pushes to pass as he's down to 11 left right now. So if you work it out that you want to use half of them in the first half of the race, that's about on pace with Colton Herta. But I would think you'd want to save some for the dash to the end. And like I say, Pato O'Ward has got the most as Aaron Thielitz burns another one. He's down to 9.
Yeah, he got close. You can see it's an extra 50 horsepower, and he closes in a car length or 2 under braking at the top end of the front straight there, leading into the keyhole turn. Now down the straightaway, maybe on another one, Brian. He's closing up to about a car length under braking.
Yep, he gets it down to car length and a half, but as they come up into turn number 5 at the top of the hill, Thielitz not able to close it up any more than that. Tom Michaels headed at you. The closest battle we have on the race now is Urrutia and his teammate Teelitz.
Yeah, but that's not going to change here. Once again, 2.5, 3 car lengths between the 5 and the 9.
Onto the front straightaway comes Pato O'Ward as Ryan Norman conserving his pushes to pass. Colton Herta has been using him coming out of the keyhole turn on the last couple of laps, so we'll keep an eye on him to see if he does it. Aaron Teelitz down to 8 pushes left. His teammate Santi Urrutia just in front of him has 13. As they head down toward the keyhole turn, there is Teelitz using another one. He's right on his rear wing now, Rusty.
Trying to get there. It's a car length and a half in the middle of the keyhole. We'll watch him down the straightaway. It's a 10-second burst of power. So as they use it at the top end of the entry to the keyhole turn, they'll get a little boost coming off of, and there he goes, peeking to the inside, but not close enough.
Yeah, he gets it down to that car length and a half. He peeks to the inside, but not able to get it done. And Ryan Norman starts to close up once again.
Absolutely. Colton Herta has lost some distance between he and that number 28 car, I should say 48 car. They're in second place. And that distance between Urrutia and Teelitz, let's say a car length and a half.
Yeah, I think Ryan Norman used up one of his pushes to pass on that last lap to stay in touch with Pato O'Ward and maybe to build up a little bit of margin over Colton Herta. What he wants to do is get it over a second to the car chasing him and under a second to the car he's chasing so he can use the push to pass and the trailing car can't, and that's the situation he's in right now. Norman will have the push to pass, Herta will not.
Front 3 have begun to close it up just a little bit, so with that push, Ryan Norman is able to close up now on Pato O'Ward, but still a pretty good gap, 5 car lengths or so as they make their way down the straightaway. So the front 3 have tightened up, and our next group of cars has fallen off just a little bit.
Yep, top 3 do close up just a little bit. And again, Teelitz not able to stay with Santi Urrutia. Urrutia had a great qualifying session today. Showed some really good speed. Didn't have the greatest one yesterday, and well, I was hoping to see Urrutia up with our top 3.
And speaking of the top 3, they've pretty much thrown shade on the rest of the field as it's an 8-second gap back to the 4th place running Santi Urrutia as O'Ward, Norman, and Herta continue to circulate at virtually identical pace. And the only ebb and flow is the using of that push to pass. Santi Urrutia able to conserve his pushes to pass as his teammate, as we've got a spin here as the 9 car's gone around, Rusty.
Yeah, it's over at station 12.
Yeah, just coming off the carousel. Yeah, he's in front of me. Sorry, I thought that was at turn 1. So Aaron Teelitz falls back to the back of the field as he carried too much pace coming off the carousel.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about Franzoni is turning quicker laps than the cars in front, and he has closed it back up again after falling to the back with a little off-course excursion. But now really far back. Teelitz well back now, about half the straightaway behind Franzoni.
Yeah, we're getting a replay, a great super slow motion replay of the 2 Belardi teammates coming through the carousel. There's a big bump, and Rusty, you can certainly address that. There's a big bump just past the apex of that turn, and the drivers have to gauge the amount of curb that they take at that point, and I think Teelitz took just a little too much curb, and that bump unsettled the car, and around he went. And that's the reason he has fallen back to the back of the pack. He's only got 6 pushes to pass left, and he's 6 seconds behind Victor Franzoni. So he's got a bit of driving to do to try to catch up. But if anything, it looks like the battle at the front has stayed pretty much stationary at about a second between the 3.
Yeah, in fact, it's stretched out from the last lap. They had closed it in just a little bit. Now it's back to where it was before, I think. Herta maybe a little bit closer than Norman is to O'Ward, but it's still nobody in contention for a challenge yet.
Yeah, Herta does close it up just a little bit as he makes his way through the S's.
Yeah, there may be a challenge for this thing's over with, but right now, still 3 car lengths off second place.
Yeah, and Herta has the least number of pushes to pass left of anyone in the top 3. He has 9 remaining. Norman has 10. Pato Award has yet to use one. Santi Urrutia has been able to hold off the challenge from behind with using minimal pushes to pass. He has 13 left. Dalton Kellett, go ahead.
And the number 9 car of Aaron Telitz doing everything he can to try and catch up. He spins it here in turn number 9. Spins it actually through the gravel trap here. And the engine is still fired. He is half in, half out. He is high centered. So they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to go full course on this.
Confirmation from race control. We are going full course yellow, the first one of the race. And that's going to pack the field up here into the final 10 laps as we're working race lap 19. Getting a replay of this, Tom, as Aaron Telitz just carried too much speed out of turn number 8. And it was gone before he got to the apex. Again, making a mistake down in the carousel turn a couple laps ago and trying to make up for it, and just carried a little too much speed. So he is most likely going to go a lap down now as the field will go by him, stranded there in turn 9. So Aaron Telitz, 6th in the points, was only 8 points behind Ryan Norman. And it looks like that points spread is going to change. As we look at the live points right now, Pato Award, as they run, would have 363. In second spot would be Colton Herta with 335. In third spot would be Santi Urrutia with 310. Then Victor Franzoni with 260, followed by Ryan Norman with 255. Telitz with 236, Dalton Kellett with 228 would be the order. But Pato Award looking to stretch that advantage to almost 30 points. Here's the 5 of Santi Urrutia in the pits. They're going to take this opportunity to change tires. Bolting on a fresh set of tires for Urrutia. And under yellow flag is the time to do it, obviously, as he won't lose significant pace time on the track, but he'll be back at the back behind Victor Franzoni. His teammate will be there with him, but will be at least 1, maybe 2 laps down to the lead of the race. Tom's, how's the recovery work coming out there?
They just have the car, they've just dragged it back out onto the racetrack. Obviously, there's going to be an awful lot of gravel deposited on there once they get the car going. And right now, it is sitting counter race to the outside of turn number 9. They're trying to get some of the garbage off of the car here. The car is fired. They're trying to get it turned around. Looking like Jim Rockford there gets it pointed in the right direction, and he's going to try and catch up with the end of the field, which, interestingly enough, depending on when we throw this green flag, that could catch him up and put him in much better position than he was before this whole thing happened.
Yeah, he's being shown as 2 laps down to the leaders now, so I think that will be the case, as he'll be able to put the hammer down and catch up to the back. He won't be able to catch up to the back of the pack, I'm guessing, as let's see if we're going to get the restart this time, or they're going to go around one more time, so that will give Telitz a chance to catch up. So he will still be 2 laps down to the lead of the race as the pace car comes across the line. We will confirm that, and that is the case.
Yeah, Urrutia already at the back of the pack right now, right behind Victor Franzoni. Yeah, no issue there as he came out of the pits, and we'll have to see how these fresh tires work out. Looking at the push to pass, he's also got 13 of those remaining as well. So Franzoni, of course, in front of him has 18. So we'll keep an eye on that, but he is now at the tail end of the field.
We've also got course condition flag over here in turn number 9 because of all the stuff that was dragged up out of the gravel trap by Aaron Telitz.
So this will be interesting. There'll be 8 laps to go next time by as we're working race lap 21. And here comes Aaron Thielitz into the pits, realizing he's 2 laps down to the lead of the race. They're going to put fresh tires on his car as well. He has nothing to lose. As the Belardi team gets the car up on the jacks and they go to work getting those tires changed. Tom, I think the field's up in your view.
Yep, once again, they're coming by me here. The lights are off on the pace car. They're still showing the course condition flag over here as they are under yellow, so they won't be surprised when they get over here and they're under speed.
So with the problems for the Belardi teammates, or the strategy call for the Belardi teammates, it's Award, Norman, and Herta. Dalton Kellett now up to 4th. Victor Franzoni 5th. Santi Urrutia with those fresh Cooper tires at the back of the queue in 6th. His teammate Aaron Thielitz will go another lap down as the field comes by here. The pace car's already into the pit lane. And we're away. Pato Award gets the jump. Ryan Norman goes with him. Let's see who uses the push to pass and if Urrutia can use those fresh tires, Rusty.
Boy, he's trying already, trying to go around the outside of the 23 car Franzoni, but Franzoni blocked that a little early on. Herta peeking to the inside, got down to the inside right now. He has that second spot if he can hang on to it down the straightaway. So we're watching him now. Here's Herta, probably everybody on the push to pass in this group. But Herta up into second, the 28 car of Kellett alongside as well, and that may move Norman back to 4th.
Yeah, we got a 4-way battle here for the second spot. It looked like it might come to tears there for just a moment, but Herta's got that second spot. Kellett is in 3rd, so Kellett takes advantage of this yellow flag. He gets himself up to 3rd spot. Tom Michaels are coming towards you.
Yeah, Award, a good lead over Colton Herta, and then everybody is able to get through this part of the racetrack okay.
Ryan Norman is the loser in that battle. He went from 2nd all the way back behind Dalton Kellett. In fact, he's now back in 5th position as here comes Pato Award driving away just as he has done. Then the 2nd place runner is Colton Herta. Dalton Kellett up to 3rd. Victor Franzoni 4th. Ryan Norman shuffled back to 5th position. Santi Urrutia unable to make much change with that, with those new tires.
Yeah, he closes up on Norman now as they hit the brakes for the keyhole turn, but the front of the field's already stretched itself out. In fact, Pato Award with probably the biggest lead of the race right now with that battle going on behind him. Herta trying to keep pace, but big gap between Herta and Kellett.
Yeah, Herta there, front end washes out on Herta's car big time, trying to get the tire temps. Yeah, Urrutia comes together with Ryan Norman. They're trying to get past Dunn at the end of the back straightaway. They get together. Norman gets back on the track and continues, and Urrutia stalls the car. He is stopped right here at the exit of turn number 5. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it restarted.
Right now, the best battle on the racetrack, that's between number 28 in 3rd place, Dalton Kellett, and Victor Franzoni, who rides in 4th place right now. Look for the world like Franzoni was out of this thing big time for anything resulting as a podium finish, but he has been able to manage and move up as others have had problems.
Leaders now in the keyhole turn. Herta closing up just a little bit now on Award as they make their way onto the straightaway. We can see that Herta is using more push to pass buttons as they make their way down the straightaway, and a good battle behind right now with Kellett and Franzoni. That's only about 3 car lengths now at the kink, and he's closing down Franzoni on a charge.
Yeah, closing down big time as they make their way into turn number 5 at the top of the hill. A 23 car. Victor Franzoni doing a good job, putting a lot of pressure on Kellett. Coming towards you, the best battle we've had on track.
Getting a good replay of the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom. I said getting a replay of the incident between Urrutia and Norman as Urrutia tried to go around the outside at turn 4 and Norman trying to give him room up on the curb. It unsettled the car and he slid out wide and collected Urrutia and the 2 went spinning. But let's see if Colton Herta's got anything for Pato Award. He's only got 5 pushes to pass left. He's about 1 2 2/10 back, and then it's a big gap of almost 4 seconds to Dalton Kellett. Victor Franzoni has 14 pushes to pass left. Kellett only has 3. Franzoni might find himself on the podium here.
Yeah, he's pushing it right now as he gets up to within 3 car lengths. We understand the 48 of Norman in the pit lane for a drive-through for a penalty. Avoidable contact there involved with Urrutia on a couple of laps ago, and he is back out on track and slots in right behind Thielitz. But that battle close behind. Again, Franzoni closes in on Kellett.
Yeah, speaking of closing in, Herta started to close up on O'Ward as they make their way through the S. Is still that best battle right now is Franzoni and Kellett.
We'll wait to see it as it comes up over turn number 7 into 8. No challenge at this point, but only about 3 car lengths separating Kellett and Franzoni.
Victor Franzoni, the Mazda scholarship winner after winning the Pro Mazda class a year ago, as he is going to try to get himself up onto the podium. Pato O'Ward holding off the challenge from Colton Herta. Herta just tantalizingly outside the 1 second he needs to be in order to use the push to pass. Franzoni does not have that problem, and he's got a bunch of push to passes in the bank. So Franzoni in a place to reel in Kellett if he can just use that extra 50 horsepower to its best benefit.
Yeah, he's got 12 left with, looks like we got about 5 laps or so to go, so he can use a couple every lap. I'm sure he's using one now down the straightaway to try to close in on Kellett, but still back 3, maybe 4 car lengths.
Oh, it's getting really close at the front. It's 3 car lengths now between Herta and O'Ward. Tom Michaels, you're going to get to see this. O'Ward gets a good run, but Herta's closing up.
Yep, Colton Herta now about 4 car lengths back as they head under the bridge. Now into turn number 10, that sweeping right-hander into 11. There's still O'Ward with the lead, but it's closer with Colton Herta right behind.
Yeah, and Herta's only got 2 pushes to pass left, so he's going to have to use them judiciously because he's out of options here. And again, O'Ward's car may be slowing just a bit. Herta's within about 3/4 of a second. Great battle coming to you, Rusty Bell.
Watching them now as they make their way into the keyhole turn. It closes up once again at the braking area, and it's about 3 car lengths now in the middle of the keyhole. We'll keep an eye down the straightaway, but right now 3 car lengths between O'Ward and Colton Herta down the straightaway. Stretches back out, maybe 4 car lengths here at the kink, but Herta trying to stay there, but is not close enough to make any challenge.
No, but Herta is really late on the brakes. He was 5 car lengths difference when they came into turn number 4. He's got it down to 3 car lengths as they're down into turn number 6.
There's a couple of guys that could be duking it out next year in the Verizon IndyCar Series. About 2.5 car lengths still. That's the distance between first and second. Pato O'Ward and Colton Herta.
And Herta didn't have to use a push to pass on that last lap to get as close as he is. So it may be the Pato O'Ward's car going off song just a little bit, and Colton Herta is coming to him as they come across the line. The interval was 3/4 of a second a lap ago. It's down to 0.6 of a second. He's closer, but running out of laps. 4 laps remaining now.
Both cars slide out and hit the exit curbing at turn 1. Very identical laps, at least through the turn 1 section. It's still 3 car lengths now as they make their way onto the back straightaway once again. If he can get just a little bit closer, he would get the benefit of a good draft down the straightaway. But by the time they get in front of me, he's back 4, maybe 5 car lengths. And as Brian said, I think he can close it under braking.
Yeah, he does close it under braking. So obviously 2 different setups there. O'Ward faster down the straightaway. Herta faster back here through the S's. He's down to about 2.5, 3 car lengths as they go out of my view.
Yeah, no change. No challenge right now. Herta considering continuing to ride in that same position. Both take the middle ground as they head up through turn number 10.
If they finish as they are, Dalton Kellett will make up some ground on Aaron Thielitz in the points championship. He will close to within about 3 points as they run at this point with 3 laps to go. As O'Ward holding off Colton Herta, it's back out to just over 0.7 of a second. So at the moment, it looks like Patricio O'Ward is able to gauge his speed just enough to keep Colton Herta right there outside of that push to pass range. But Herta's got 2 pushes to pass left, and he's got 3 laps. I think he's going to wait and use them judiciously.
Yeah, we're watching him now. Still ends up about 5 car lengths here at the King. Closes up it once again at the top end of the straight.
Yeah, he is really late on the brakes, gets a quick lockup there. Herta able to stay in contact. It's down to 2 car lengths into turn number 6. Colton Herta putting a lot of pressure on here at the very end. Next lap, he's got a push to pass probably to use.
Yeah, but he's not able to climb any closer than he was last time by as they go through turn number 9. Not much time to go, and he's still right in the rearview mirrors of Pato O'Ward.
Into the carousel turn they come. He did use a push to pass down the back straightaway, so he's down to 1 as we've got 2 laps to go this time by. As Pato O'Ward keeping it clean and green without any issues. Colton Herta driving the wheels off that thing. He's got it down to 0.6 of a second, but it may be too little too late. He's only got 2 laps to go, and he's only got 1 push to pass left.
Yeah, he's closed it in once again. Got a good run through turn 1. Watching him now, again, 3 car lengths seems to be the standard for that battle as they come onto the back straightaway with about a 3 car length advantage, and it stretches again. It may be more than 5 this time down the straightaway, Brian, as they hit the brakes.
Yeah, and Herta, again, really late on the brakes that time. He gets down to 2 at the top of 5. But O'Ward's picked up a push in his car. Maybe that's why it's getting closer. O'Ward's got a slight push in his car as he comes over 5.
Yeah, it is closer than it was last time by, but very little time left here in this race.
Yeah, we can see O'Ward sawing at the wheel as he goes through turn number 9. He is fighting an understeering car. Herta, however, has burned his last push to pass, so it's a straight fight now to the end. He's right on his gearbox as they come off the carousel turn. O'Ward stretches it out just a bit. The white flag is in the air. If Colton Herta's got any tricks up his sleeve, now is the time. In turn 1, Rusty Bell.
Through turn 1, it's about 4 car lengths at the exit of turn 1, and we'll see. He'll close it up under braking. It's been about 3 car lengths. It stays about that, maybe 2.5 car lengths at the entry to the keyhole, but we'll watch this run out of the keyhole and down the straightaway. O'Ward stretches it back. It's only about 4 car lengths this time. He's a little closer here in the middle of the straightaway.
On the brakes, Herta closes it down. He's not close enough to get anything done through the S's, but he does have it down to 2 car lengths. Again, O'Ward's just sawing at the wheel. That car's picked up a huge push, but it looks like he's going to be able to hang on. Tom, they're in front of you.
Yeah, they're about the same distance as last time through turn number 9. Both cars very smoothly. Not enough time left for Colton Herta to pull in for the win. Right now, it is Pato O'Ward in front.
Coming into the carousel for the final time, all Colton Herta can do is hope Pato O'Ward makes a mistake, and he does not accommodate him. To the checkered flag comes Pato O'Ward as he takes his 6th win of the season. Colton Herta will have to settle for 2nd spot, and that points battle gets a little further away as he wasn't able to overhaul O'Ward. The next great battle for Dalton Kellett up into 3rd. Great run for him. Victor Franzoni made a race of it at the end, but not able to catch Dalton Kellett. Franzoni will have to settle for 4th spot. Ryan Norman had an eventful race, was running 2nd for most of the event, but he's going to have to be happy with 5th position after contact with Aaron Tielitz. Santi Urrutia soldiers on to a 6th place finish. The gamble the team made to bring Santi in and change the tires was put paid when he had that contact with Ryan Norman. And that, unfortunately, will keep him back in 6th spot. Aaron Tielitz will finish 7th in the 9 car for Bilotti Auto Racing. No worries, as Pato O'Ward saluting the crowd as he comes over the S's, as he takes his 6th win on the season. What a great run for Patricio, the driver out of Monterrey, Mexico, although he lives in San Antonio at this point for Andretti Autosport, sponsored by Mexico, a world of its own.
Pato O'Ward comes into Mid-Ohio with the championship lead, and after 1 race, you only strengthen it. That was a long green flag race, only 1 full course yellow. You're tired, you're sweaty. How hard was that one today?
It kept me on the edge. I know Ryan and Colton behind me were rolling some pretty quick lap times, so they definitely kept the pressure on me. It wasn't an easy race. So I just kept getting the countdown. It's just super hard to be able to get a gap whenever they can engage the push to pass. So I was just trying to push as much as I can so they wouldn't get close enough to have a run on me into 4.
And then do you forecast any setup changes for the car before race number 2 tomorrow here?
The car feels pretty good. The Andretti guys have they've given us an awesome car. So I think we're just going to finalize the little details we want to make better for tomorrow. But all in all, the package is fantastic.
A pole position and a win. He says the car is fantastic, and the results speak to that. Pod Award, your winner here in round number 13 at Mid-Ohio. Congratulations.
Thank you.